Tech trainer. I am also a full-time agent, so I split my duty. Today we're going to talk about bulletproof command compliance. It's a beautiful thing.
Time to make sure your devices are turned off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. So for a little bit of housekeeping, please make sure your devices are silent.
Including your tablet.
Watch, smartphone. If it makes a noise, you will gladly donate to Cares for Kids in the amount of $25. We have QR codes to make it nice and easy for you all around the office. Please don't let that be you unless you want it to be. And we'll gladly take your money. I'm trying to see where this is coming from. Perfect. Okay, so our agenda today, we're going to go over transaction overview. We're going to go through buyer transactions, seller transactions, Atlanta partner disclosures, how to get paid at closing, and then we'll wind up at questions. Disclaimers before we start. Command works best. It is built on Chrome. If you use anything other than Chrome, you may get into Command, but it'll act wonky and you'll think there's a problem, and the problem is actually you're using the wrong browser. If you do not have Chrome installed, it is not an app. You cannot get it from the App Store. Go to Google and search Chrome and download it, install it that way. DocuSign. DocuSign is a separate entity. It is not part of Command. It is connected to Command. You have to have a DocuSign account and then sign in and connect that DocuSign account with Command. You need to make sure your account is connected in Command settings. And if you need help with getting that account set up, please contact support at scottleroymarketing.com because they are the ones who set up the accounts for us. Your realtor forms in DocuSign. In order to gain access, you must be a member of a board. Which board does not matter, pick your choice. In Atlanta, we have the Atlanta board, we have the Gwinnett board, we have the DeKalb board. All of those local boards, you have to pick one that then makes you a member of the state board, which makes you a member of the national board, and that is how you gain access to GAR forms. Before you can start writing your contracts, you have to be a member, and that gives you access. All right. So, as per Georgia law, the Georgia Real Estate Commission says all contracts have to be submitted to the agent's brokerage no more than 1 business day after going binding. That is a law. That is not a rule set by Keller Williams. So when you hear us say that, it is a law. Within no more than 1 business day after going binding, you must notify your broker by submitting your contracts that you are under contract. Because technically, although your name is on it, you're placing your broker under contract, so you have to notify them that within 1 business day of doing so.
That means once everything is signed.
Once you're binding, once you go binding.
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Hey. Yeah. Right there. Yeah. Fine. Oh, look at that. Oh, no, right here. Oh.
And here at KW Tucker, submitting contracts entail agents uploading the bound purchase and sale agreement that's already signed and dated to an opportunity in Command. And once you attach it to that opportunity, you can then submit it, and that notifies all parties who need to be notified. All right. So transaction overview. So you're in your contacts and you made the contact for the person that you're about to put on the contract. Share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I need you to take off, stop sharing for me. Unless it's done here.
Just a friendly reminder to turn on your devices off, tablets, laptops, and smartwatches.
Thank you. So we're in command and we're going to go to the opportunities tab within the contact. There's two ways you can create an opportunity. One way is to go directly into the opportunity applet by clicking your red KW up in the corner. You can see opportunities down here. Once you click on it, it'll take you into the general opportunities tab and you can create an opportunity from there. However, if you're doing a specific person, you're about to upload this contract, you know who you're working with already, it's easier to just go to that person and then create the opportunity from there because it already pulls in whatever information that's needed. So you click on create an opportunity. It's already going to have asterisks just like any other internet form. Those are required fields. So once you're choosing the opportunity type, this is going to dictate what forms and what command is going to do in the background. So this is important, whether it's going to be a listing or a buyer, the landlord, or a tenant. So we're going to do listing. The client is already there. Opportunity name. I'm going to say best practices for things that I personally do to make my life easier. These are not required things, it's just things that I do. So when you hear best practices, that's my best practices. Opportunity name. To distinguish quicker between buyers and sellers when looking at a list. If it's a listing, I use the address. If it's a buyer, I use their name. That's my best practice. However, however it defaults, whatever you choose to name the opportunity, whatever works for you in your system, use that. Custom tags. If you want to tag this opportunity, you can do so here. Estimated close date, commission rate is required, but that's the only thing that's required between opportunity name and commission rate. However, if I know their budget or their pre-approval amount, in this case, we know exactly what the contract is for, put that number in there. And then your opportunity phase will depend on where they are. This is an actual under contract thing that we're doing, so they're actually active. And we're before staging, we're at negotiations right now. Because we're under contract and we're getting ready to go into due diligence. Hit create. And then here it is. Once in your listing opportunity, you're going to go to documents. And this is how you start a transaction to get to DocuSign. Prior to that, I wanted to show you some things about being in this opportunity. If you notice, we started on details. Because this is a listing, it's gonna automatically say listing and it's gonna act like a listing. You have a link to Earnest right here. If you don't have the app, it's gonna allow you to send an Earnest request right from your opportunity. And it has the key dates inside of here, as well as your estimated commission down here.
Is earnest money?
Earnest is earnest money. That's what we use to collect earnest money, yes. Let's go back to the main opportunity screen. Now, although the opportunity detail didn't require you to add any kind of dollar amount, and I suggested that you do, this is why. I use my opportunities like a whiteboard. Meaning, I know who I'm working with and where they are at any given time by just looking at my opportunities. So instead of writing things on the whiteboard, I place them in the correct zone within the opportunity. Each one of these stages are editable, and each one of the phases within each stage is editable. So because I use those numbers, I put that, I knew their pre-approval amount or I knew the actual contract amount. Instead of me just looking at people and doing blind lead gen, if I look here, I know that of these opportunities that I have created in listings, I have the potential to do $72,000 in GCI if I just close those deals that are there. If I close my buyers, all of these buyer opportunities, I have the potential to do $388,000 in GCI. That's a different motivation for your lead gen. You get to see the dollar amount that's sitting out there if you don't do your job. So that's why I like to add that number in opportunities. So it gives me a little bit of motivation when I'm looking at it. Back to the individual opportunity that we just created. Next to the details is a marketing tab. If you look at that marketing tab, if this was an actual listing, we can connect the listing to it by selecting the listing from there or manually add it. And then it gives you suggestions on all marketing that you can use for that listing. And you can get to it simply by clicking.
Do you ever do marketing out of it?
Yes. Not specifically from here. Sometimes I don't go straight from here, but I'll go into designs and use it because that's just it's a shortcut to design.
Oh, okay.
That's all that is. These are actual templates in designs already, and they're just making it easier to find by putting shortcuts attached to whatever you're doing. So if this was a buyer, these will be buyer-based marketing. Back to documents. Now we have our bound contract that we're going to submit to the office. Or we want to create a contract and write a buyer brokerage or get a listing agreement or actually write an offer. You click by start a transaction. Clicking that button then takes you into DocuSign by opening another window and creates a room, thereby connecting Command and DocuSign. Being that DocuSign is a separate entity, you can go to DocuSign.com and log in with your credentials and get into the system. However, whatever you create there, Command won't be able to see it because you didn't start in Command. So you need to start in Command so that Command can see what you're doing in DocuSign. Once you go into the room, by clicking on go to transaction or start a transaction, is going to take you directly to the room that's connected to this opportunity.
So it's automatically creating that room.
Correct.
Okay.
And by default, the office has already gotten some default forms in the buyer folder and in a seller, a listing folder. That might be germane to your actual deal that you're doing. So here we have a purchase and sale, instruction and closing attorney, and an exclusive seller listing. Forms that might be common for this type of transaction. Any other forms that you need access to, you click on add, DocuSign forms, and that gives you access to all your GAR forms. You can search by number, by name, you can do part of the form that you're looking for, and anything that has that word in the name, it'll do word association, it'll pull up all of those forms.
Yeah, but you said earlier that you have to be a member of one of the associations, so that.
Won't be
No,
there
that-
unless you're a member of the association, correct?
Okay.
And in order to gain access to those, once you have a NERDS ID or you become a member of the board, you come over to this corner. Click on preferences and integrations. And within integrations, you'll see right here, I want to add provider. Click on add provider, you pick Georgia Realtors. It's going to ask you for your NERDS ID and your name. You enter that. Once you save it, you now have told DocuSign that you are a realtor. You have access to the forms. And now when you click on that room, you'll have those forms. If you click on add forms, it'll be there.
Would you click on Georgia Realtors or would you click on whatever association you have?
Well, Georgia Realtors is the state board, so that's normally what's going to be there. So you, no matter whether you're with Atlanta or with, it doesn't matter, because you're a part of Georgia too.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
So if you notice, each one of these forms are now blue to signify that it's a form, it's a GAR form that came from the system. If it's like this, then the system is smart enough to know that this is a buyer form, a seller form, or whatever kind of form it is, but the form came from the GAR system. So because of that, you can then click on one of them to open it. And then start filling it out. Each one of these are editable and you can enter text into them. If this was a disclosure, disclosures are only legally allowed to be filled out by the seller. You cannot do it for them. The system knows that. So if this is a disclosure, a seller's property disclosure or lead-based paint or anything of that nature, you will not be able to fill that in. It won't let you. I'll get right to that. Yep, that's the next step. We'll go into something that's already here. If you notice now, in this room that's already done, I have red, green, and blue. The blue are the originals. Remember, those are the GAR forms that we pulled down from the system. Once you send them out for signatures and they get signed, they come back marked green with a green check mark. If you add a PDF or add a form to this room that didn't get added when you clicked on add and add the form, it didn't come from the GAR form method, whatever you add to the room becomes red. Those forms are there, you can open them, you can see them, but if you notice, you can't do anything to them. There's no way to edit them, there's nothing there, they're just, it's view only. In order to edit those forms, you have to wait until you're about to assign signatures, and then you can place your edits on those forms. Anything else, all of our forms, you can do, fill out everything you need to do, so that way when you add signatures, all you do is put the signature. So let's go back to that test room. So I've gotten everything filled out, is exactly how I want it, and now I have to put signatures on it. So I'm gonna select each form that I need to put signatures on. And I'm gonna find that create envelope pencil. And it's gonna ask me who is getting this form, who am I sending it to? It's going to the buyer agent, which is me, and buyer one. Or it's going to go to listing agent or seller one. This was the listing. Let's do listing agent and seller one, and hit continue. You're now telling the system that's going to automatically place the signatures where they need to be. God bless you. You're going to come to the right here to this screen, which is setting up the envelope. You'll see the documents that you had a check mark in. If you forgot to add one, when you get here, you can just simply click on upload. And I want to add room documents. I want to add a document from the room I was just in. Add recipients. Right above in the top right-hand corner, left-hand corner, it says set signing order, so that it comes to one person, and then once that person is finished, it'll then send it to the next person. As opposed to everybody getting it one time, waiting, trying to sign it. It automatically, if you check that box, it's going to give you an option to fill in these to say who's going to sign first and who's going to sign second. Within this addressing part, you have a drop-down list that says needs to sign. What does this person need to do? Sometimes they may not need to sign, they just need a copy. So I can say that person's going to receive a copy, that just need to see it. They're allowed to edit it. I have options here. And if you notice, the second one down is in-person signer. You use that option if you're not emailing it to them and they're standing right next to you and you want them to sign right now.
So what does that look like after you? I've never seen it. Well, I've seen it, but I've never seen it.
I'll show you. Then for seller one, you put needs to sign. It's going to ask for the first name and email address. Down here, add a message. This is the email subject line. Although people are told that they should read what they sign, I can guarantee you maybe 3% of your clients are actually reading anything that they sign that you sent to them. I'll put money on.
Hey, this man called me every 3 minutes. What did it say? And what was it?
And for the people who want to read it, the forms are very self-explanatory. It's literally the purchase and sale agreement is 1 page and then 6 pages of explanation. Box 1 means this. Box 2 means that. So it's very self-explanatory for those who want to read it, and yet they don't. So to cover, again, best practice for me, just for my conscience, I always add please review in DocuSign. So not only did I tell you to read it, I put it in writing that you should read it. Now, whether you don't or not, don't come back to me after the fact saying I didn't know, because you should have read it. Whether you did or not is not on me. Enter message. I'll send them a quick note about, hey, this is the contract, this is whatever it is that I'm sending them, and put my little email signature, regards, Rob, or whatever.
Can I ask? This is something that DocuSign, I feel like we started doing about maybe 8 months ago. The default is set signing order. And so if you have, like, let's say you have 2 people, like a husband and a wife, and then it's you. Then, like, let's say the husband is number 1, the wife is number 2, and you're number 3. the wife might say, well, I didn't get the document, but that's because there's a signing order. So I typically just remove that unless it's a situation where person A has to sign first or needs to look at it first.
And that's true. But it's that way by default because some loans require it to be done in a certain order. Like sometimes some FHA underwriters will look at who signed in what order and the date in which they signed, and if it's out of order, it's an issue.
Meaning like the agent versus the buyer?
Yes.
Well, I always sign last.
Sometimes
Doesn't matter?
yes, it does. It can.
Okay.
But because it can, they make it so that you don't have to think about it or figure out when it should be.
Right, okay. I didn't know that was. Does it matter for his no wife?
No.
Like primary is the loan. Okay. Also, if I have to make changes too, I don't wanna have already signed it, you know what I'm saying? So.
You can, in order to make changes, you can just kill the whole envelope and just start from scratch because you don't want to have to do cross outs and all that, and that becomes even more work. So, once you hit next, if you do in-person signing, it's gonna say, who's the host name? The host is you. Okay, so you're gonna put your first name and your email address. And what the only difference between this and that, between these to sign and in-person signer, once we hit next, I will tell you on the next screen. Now, we're at the part where we can add fields to this form that need action, or we can just send it. Once we hit send, it's going to email the first person on the list and tell them that they have a signing request. If it's in-person signing, that email is going to come to your email. So then at this, while you're standing next to them, you open up your email and click on that email, and it's going to tell you to hand it over to them. You just hand it over to them, they click through and sign it like they would on theirs. And then when it's done, it's going to tell them to hand it back over to you. It's going to ask you to log into DocuSign, you log in and it'll say complete. Now, if you also need to sign it still, then you're going to get a second email telling you to sign it. That's how in-person signing works. So, right here, you have a drop-down box at the top, and that's where you can toggle, if need be, between the parties that are addressing this contract, that are already in the envelope, and they're color-coded. So now I know that I'm on the listing agent. If I need him to sign something, or I need to sign something, I can then take whatever it is, drag this over here and drop it. If it says full name, it's going to take that person's full name and automatically put it there. Same thing with signature, initial, date signed, all of these right here on this first one will do whatever it is that the tag next to it says. Now, say for instance, I wanted to add something in this field, but I didn't do it on the previous page, or it was a PDF that couldn't automatically be filled in. I need to add information to the PDF. If I know what that information is and I don't need it to be done by them, I can go down to the pencil at the bottom of the list. And that gives you options that you can do right now without requesting them to be done. So I can add a text box, drop it over here, and then type in there what I need to type, and it'll leave it there. And it'll be there as part of the contract once it's done. If I want to put a line through something, I can come and take this line down here, come next to whatever it is, start on one end, and click the button again, and there's your line. Once I'm finished filling this out, As you can see, it's seller's initials. It's already requiring the initials and putting everything where it needs to be because it was a GAR form and it automatically recognizes that this is a form that needs to be filled out. It recognizes legally who's supposed to be filling it out and then does what it's supposed to do. Signatures are already required. Signature required because it was listing agent and seller one. And instructions to closing attorney, same thing. It's all empty because it's waiting for somebody to fill it out. Disclosures. When it goes to your seller or your buyer or whatever, it's something that needs automatically be filled out, mostly with sellers, it's going to prompt them to sign, but it won't prompt them to fill out the entire form. So you have to communicate that to them. I'm going to send you a seller's property disclosure. I'm going to send you the community association disclosure. I'm going to send you the lead-based paint disclosure. Here's what that means and here's what you have to do. The system is going to come to you so that you can do it electronically, but it's not going to prompt you to fill out the entire form, although the entire form will be editable. It's only going to prompt you for signatures. So you're going to send it to them. If inevitably, you're going to send it to them and they're going to click next and sign and send it back to you and say it's done. But because they didn't know or you didn't explain fully enough that they need to go ahead and fill out the disclosure with everything that they know. That is a quick lesson on DocuSign. Once you hit send, it's going to send to everybody. And everybody's going to get emails and then you'll be notified once it's done. That last email that comes to you actually has the completed forms attached to it if you didn't know. So when they say the customer has to acknowledge that they received everything, once they finish signing and everybody finishes signing, if you got that email that says all forms are completed and it has the forms attached to it, they got it. Really quick, on DocuSign, if you go to KW Connect, this is a learning home. You can type in whatever topic you need. And it will, if you notice, I typed in DocuSign and it pulled up 144 results. 19 events, 22 learning opportunities, which are classes. Copy an envelope in design, create an envelope in design, void an envelope in DocuSign. We also have, if you didn't know, my role as Market Center Tech Trainer is local here to this office. We also have a regional tech trainer. His name is Patrick Malden. Patrick does classes, but because we belong to Atlanta Partners and they're a large group, we also, Atlanta Partners has a tech trainer, and that's Stuart. And Stuart also gives classes, and his classes are actually can be found if you go to kwaptechtraining.com. kwaptechtraining.com. That will send you to his link tree. And all of his classes that have been recorded are stored here on the Google Drive. And you can watch the classes and anything that he has done, command basics and setup. Here's a whole class on DocuSign right here on the basics of DocuSign. So, techtraining.com.
That's going through KW Connect.
Correct. No, that's just a website. That's just, you can go to one or the other.
Okay.
Now we're back in opportunities. You've already had the document signed in DocuSign and everything is good to go. Now you want to add the documents to the opportunity so that you notify the office. In the document section, if you scroll down, the first thing that says listed, that's where you notify them of the fact that you have a listing agreement or a buyer agreement. And they literally tell you right here what forms they're looking for, what are required, and what are conditional. So initially, you're gonna look for the required ones, and if they need the listing agreement, okay? So we're gonna go here, up top it says, where are we pulling the forms from? From DocuSign, and in that room docs, the room that it's attached to, it's saying right here in the drop-down box. So if I go down here and click on it, it should pull up whatever docs are in that room. The listing agreement, if the listing agreement is in there and it's completed, it'll pull up in this list. Community association disclosure, same thing. Click on the drop down, it's already connected to that room. You're gonna look for the community association disclosure, click it, and it'll now attach it to the opportunity. If you have it, if you've already downloaded them or they're on your desktop and you want to manually add them and you don't have to go through DocuSign to do it, just click to My Computer Manual, and now you can drop right here where you want them to go. Once you do that, you click Submit to Market Center. That now notifies them whether they respond or not. You have now been in compliance by clicking on Submit to Market Center. You are under contract. There's another little drop down here to the left. First one was listed. You need to tell them that you have a listing or that you have a buyer. Now you're under contract. You go to under contract. And in under contract, again, same thing. Is required and it's color coded, so it's red. You know, whenever you see red, it's a problem. So you stop. And then you see what's going on. Oh, they need a purchase or sale agreement. Go down, conditional is orange. Here's another required, stop. They need instructions to closing attorney, okay? Keep scrolling, what else? Nothing else is required, but there are forms that are necessary. So I'm gonna look back through the list and whatever I have that's a part of this contract, we're gonna add it. So the conventional FHA exhibit, that's needed, it's part of the contract, but notice it's not required. So you still need to add it. So I'm gonna add that exhibit here. Amendments, any amendments, I can add one here, one at a time. If you need to add more than one of the same form, you have more than one exhibit, you can come to the three dots up here in the corner. Add document, name it SPD, it sells property disclosure. Where is the document coming from? Am I pulling this document from DocuSign or am I adding it manually from my computer? You'll select the document, hit save, and then it'll put it down here at the bottom of this list. For your disclosures that are required by Atlanta partners in the state, those are not GAR forms. So there's a couple of places you can get them, but the most default place, I should say, is right here in this folder. So under listed, if you scroll down, you'll see that these forms are underlined. System sewage and water source disclosure, that's required by Atlanta partners. Your wire fraud disclosure is required. And here's the affiliated business disclosure, the ABAD that we talk about at every team meeting that's required. The affiliated business arrangement disclosures. If you click on them, there they are. You can then download them and do with them, fill them out, add them to DocuSign, do what you need to do, but that's where you get them. Wire fraud is right here. If you open it, it allows you to download it or print it. If you want to print it and write it and then scan it back in, knock yourself out. The ABAD is also right here. If you go to closed, which is the last one, and go into the document list, right at the top, here's your DA request, which is a disbursement authorization. We at Atlanta Partners and Keller Williams have the ability to get paid at the table. Believe it or not, that is not commonplace. So if you want to get paid at the table and get your check and not wait to come back and drop the check off at the office, one big check, and then wait for everybody, the check to get split and then you get your money, you can get your money at the table along with everybody else, but you need the disbursement authorization. That tells the lawyer that that the broker has given permission for him to cut your check separately. There are rules to this DA. Once this DA is issued, if any changes have been made to the contract, they won't honor the DA because the signed DA is different from the contract. This form must be submitted in opportunity no less than 3 business days prior to closing and not more than 10 business days. That is for the same reason that we just spoke about. If it's 10 days, it's too long for things to change and that DA to become null and void. And if it's less than 3, then they might not have enough time for all parties to sign it and get it back to you in time for closing, for you to submit it to the lawyer. So it's very self-explanatory. The form is just basically asking for basic information. If they need to include an earnest money check, if they need to give it to you and cut it for you so you can take it with you to closing, or if they're going to deduct it from the amount that they're due to be paid, it'll all be right here on this form. Just fill out this form and put it right back where you found it, in this closed folder. You just submit it right here and submit to Market Center, and then everybody is notified, not just here. So any broker that's available to sign it can sign it. Because you guys know that we have several brokers and they're all assigned to different offices. They cover different offices, but they're all under Atlanta Partners. So one signature counts for the other. So it doesn't necessarily have to be one broker who can sign our stuff. So the more people that know about it is better. That's why we submit it through Command. Part of the reason why we submit it through Command. Let's go back to our slides and make sure that I'm telling you guys everything you need to know so far. All right, so we covered the transaction overview. I showed you where to get classes to get more in depth, or you can schedule a one-on-one with me. However, I warn you that you must be prepared because I will call you out. Thank you. That's for those who don't know. So you create an opportunity, get your signed brokerage agreement, upload and submit the documents to the Market Center, address any changes that the Market Center tells you about. I'll go back to cover that. And then you get paid at closing. So inside opportunities, Let's go into an existing opportunity so you can see. Nope. That one. Now, once you submit, you hit submit, the compliance compartment will look at everything that you submitted, make sure it's completely filled out. See if you've missed anything. It's gonna make sure you're in compliance and watch your back. So, once they do that, if everything's fine, it'll come back approved. It'll be green. And you'll get a little notification in your bell, and if you have the app, you'll get a notification that says that you've gotten the message and that the message says that your folder has been approved. If not, it'll say return. So I can click on this and look for the red means stop, and find out why it was returned. So I can go over here and there's a little note and I can hover over it and read that note. Please have the leave description added, blah, blah, blah. I can then click on this message here. I can at the person who sent me the message and respond to them. If I don't understand why they rejected it or their message isn't clear, I can then get clarity there. Okay, hey, you asked me for this, but that form is already there. You must have missed it, or it's already signed. That signature is there. You didn't see it. And then go back and forth and rectify whatever problem that they say that you have. For instance, for this one, it's returned, but you can see it's also terminated. So all the changes that are being asked to be made are not necessary because it's terminated. So now, because this offer has been terminated, I'm going to go down and create a new version. And now that's telling them that this is an entire new contract that's on that opportunity. By creating a new version and naming that new version something different. Right here at the top, you click on the drop-down box, click on add version. You name whatever it is that you wanted to name to make it different from the previous version and create new version, and you have a whole new fresh slate to submit things to the Market Center. Some forms that you might need during a buyer transaction. So you need your buyer brokerage agreement, of course, your purchase and sale agreement, the instructions to close an attorney, which tells the attorney how the commission is being broke down, who gets what. And your KWAP disclosures, which discloses that we might have a business arrangement with one or more vendors that are involved in this transaction. And that there might be money being paid to one of those vendors for that privilege. We went over transactions, we went over how to get in DocuSign, how to navigate it. Again, if you need a class on a specific thing, feel free to go through those links in your free time and you can watch these classes whenever you want. It's literally a Zoom class, just like we did, being recorded. Sometimes they might be a little more involved depending on what topic it's on. It might be taught by me, it might be taught by Stuart, it might be taught by Keller Williams Realty International. All of it is the same. The message is the same. How to do whatever it is that you need to do. If that doesn't work, feel free to come in here and anybody can help you get through whatever problem that you have. Myself, again, I am a full-time agent, although I'm your market center tech trainer. So I will tell you to text me, and if it's a quick question, I'll answer it for you real quick. If it's involved, I'll ask you to make an appointment and send you my appointment link. That'll give you an hour for us to tackle whatever problem you have. If it's something that cannot wait for either one of those, when you walk in this door, anybody whose door is open will help you. Don't feel like you're by yourself and you can't get help because nobody's answering their phone. We're all agents and we're all busy, but that doesn't mean that we don't care. Okay? Yes. Questions? I saw somebody's hand raised, or were you just stretching? Okay. So we have different disclosures, and we talk about them a lot. So for your buyer, we need an affiliated business arrangement disclosure. They need a wire fraud. For listings, they need those two forms, and they also need a sewer and water disclosure. Those things to make it easier, if you get it all signed at the same time that you do your listing agreement, it'll work a lot better for you. Or your buyer agreement. I have an email that I put together that says that, hey, I need to do this, but it's not me, it's the state and my broker required that we make this agreement official. So I need you to sign this thing that's coming over. Basically what it says. And it has attached to it all the disclosures, the notices that they're supposed to get as per the purchase and sale agreement. Halfway down the purchase and sale agreement, it has a whole list of notices that you're supposed to give them. How many of you actually check those off and give them the notices? One. It's on the form because it's required. So you check those off and then you send them to them. So, but instead of bombarding them with notices while I'm trying to get them to sign something, I will send them the notices separately so that they receive them and let them know that these are notices that you are required to receive, but require no further action. Please read them at your leisure. Separately, I have forms that do require action, and they're going to come from DocuSign. So now everybody's disclosed, my back is covered, everybody's got notification of all the notifications that they're required to receive, and everybody's happy. Anybody have any questions while we close up our little hour together? Any questions? Nothing off the table? Yes.
I haven't had my first listing buyer yet, but I was just reviewing the forms. On the BBA, there's a list of GAR forms at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a GAR retainer fee.
We don't particularly do retainer fees,
Okay,
but you are allowed to by law. If you choose to charge a retainer fee, that's on you.
okay, but
But
that's not required.
No, it's not.
Okay. Yeah, but it's going to be.
Right,
It's
and
not.
just like dual agency, we don't do dual agency at Atlanta Partners. It's something that we can't do, or sub-agency.
Okay,
Atlanta Partners doesn't allow it,
okay,
but it's legal in the state of Georgia, so it's on the form.
yeah, I knew that part, but when I got down to the bottom, they know that retainer fee on one.
Right.
So they,
You're welcome.
Hey, Rob, can you go back to where you created a separate file in the same opportunity? I must have blinked in this one.
Absolutely. The question was, can we go back to where we first were in the opportunity and decided to create a second version? any opportunity while you're in the documents, whichever section that needs the new version, right at the top, you click on listed, drop that drop down arrow, and that's when you click on add new version
Of the same listing.
of the same listing. If for some reason you need to do a different version, say it expired and you have a whole new contract, that would be a different version.
But you can't extend it.
You can extend it.
But you're.
There's different ways to extend an expired, but for this purposes, if something changed, you want a whole new version so that you don't confuse it with the old stuff. If it's just one form that changed, then just change the form. But if the whole contract has changed, do a whole new version.
Like if they took it off the market.
And put it back, correct. Now, under contract, these are offers. You were under contract and you were going to closing and the deal got terminated. My listing still exists, so I need a new version for the next offer that I get.
Okay.
So in that case, I will go to this drop down, click on add version, and now I'm going to name this version something different.
The dates and everything else have changed.
Everything has changed. People have changed. Everything has changed.
That outdated, the same thing, right?
No, because you're not binding yet.
Right, okay, so they didn't accept.
During the bid, you're not telling them it's not submitted. The problem is you've already submitted it. Once you submit it and now you need to make a change, the only thing you can really change of the form is that replacing the form that already exists. But that can get confusing if you have multiple forms and you keep going in and out. So now if the whole contract has changed, you don't want to confuse them on the back end. So this is a whole new version because we have a new situation from that other.
When you do something wrong, I like how they come back some message and say, fix this, or, like to keep in compliance, it's super helpful.
And that's something that's unique
Yeah.
to Kelwood.
Oh, yeah. Is it real?
Yeah, all real, they're all real people. One that was actually came to a class, I think was here,
I won't be with it.
I believe it was here.
Oh, that's fine.
But no, compliance department is real, they are here to watch our backs to make sure that you don't get sued.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least try to minimize the chances of you being sued. Say.
Some wanna be a-holes. That's enough.
So any more questions for me? You good? All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
We're gonna evaluate. Thank you.
Yeah. That was good, well, thank you for the.
Okay, I didn't see the chat, so I'm sorry if I missed anybody in the chat. I'll go back and look at the questions now.
Yeah, thank you, Ron.
Thank you.